Howdy, Heroes Hearth. Kyle Fergusson here from Into the Nexus podcast, and I want to tell you about my favorite E.T.C build. And it's a build for those of you with trust issues in solo queue play. E.T.C has it all. He's got the simple kit that does everything you need it to do. He's got an amazing stun that could very well be a heroic on a different character. He's got the knockback, which is a counter to so many abilities that we're seeing on all of our top picks right now. And he's got a self-heal, which removes the poke you receive while getting into those positions for your awesome stuns and CC. And the basics don't change with the build. If you power slide onto the enemy side, you are making an aggressive engage. If you power slide back to your allied side, you are making a disengage. Depending on what order you use power slide and face melt in is the type of engage you're making. Here we can imagine the left side of the screen is the friendly side, the right side of the screen is the enemy side. Power sliding first into a face melt embeds the enemy, isolates them towards our team, but now E.T.C is exposed. If we instead walk in front of our target, isolate them back with the face melt, and then power slide, this is a much safer engage for our team, and we are now embedded inside our team where we can be supported and taken care of. And E.T.C can be extremely frustrating to learn in a solo queue environment because his damage and his lane clear is pretty darn low. Here we can see that his average damage in a game is actually lower than Garrosh's. And when it comes to siege, lane clear, E.T.C is also below the majority of our tanks, especially Johanna and Stitches of course, but only slightly above the likes of Diablo and Garrosh. E.T.C can feel extremely reliant on his team to follow up what he's cooking on the battlefield. Sometimes E.T.C has to be taking care of his own life because the solo queue support is too busy taking care of the weird solo queue assassins. So my favorite E.T.C build is an auto attack build. And that shouldn't surprise any of you. After all, I did the Diablo auto attack build guide before it got buffed and called OP by many of our community leaders. I love guitar solo at 1. And for some darn reason, it's got a 5% popularity. It's often touted as the off-lane E.T.C talent, which is fair. But in the majority of solo queue games, you're not really going to get a chance to play off-lane E.T.C. People have much stronger preferences for things like Bruisers or even Blaze right now. But this talent shines in the same places as Diablo's auto attack build, against those tanks that allow you to hit them repeatedly, like Mei and Johanna. As far as the other tanks go, Face Melt ruins their engages, and Power Slide ruins their disengages. So E.T.C is working as a counterpick to every single tank we're running right now. And I know I'm committing some sacrilege for old school E.T.C players out there. Y'all are crazy about Prog Rock and Block Party. I even see an intense amount of zealotry for the pick of Block Party against things like Tracer. So let me just counter those before I talk about my Guitar Hero build. Block Party gives you a stack of block, 75% physical armor against the next heroic basic attack. Tracer's auto attacks are tiny. Lily's auto attacks are tiny. Who is going to hit you first? If you're fighting Hanzo, Sergeant Hammer, Raynor, absolutely, Block Party is amazing. But in solo queue, I gotta say that this seems overvalued. Look at the area of Block Party. How often are you really standing next to the person in your party that needs that stack of block? If you're running alongside a Thrall or a Ragnaros, they're probably making the same engage you are. But in the majority of gold and below solo league games, everyone is running around crazy and is not anywhere near each other to receive this block party. And the same area problem goes for Prog Rock. Prog Rock does increase your own self-healing. It's amazing on maps like Tomb of the Spider Queen, where you're going to be basically guaranteed to get all those orbs. But the number one reason I see Prog Rock picked up is because people want to heal their allies. But again, this area is very minimal. It's very small. If I heal here, nothing is received by the target dummy. I gotta get pretty darn close before an ally is actually receiving that heal. How often are you really that close to your allies in solo queue? I want to take care of myself on the battlefield. Guitar Hero. While Guitar Solo is active, E.T.C heals for 50% of his damage dealt by basic attacks. Basic attacks increase the duration of Guitar Solo by 0.5 seconds. E.T.C has an amazing attack speed. His auto attack damage is actually pretty darn good as well. And E.T.C has an amazing stun on his kit, so we're basically guaranteeing ourselves 2 auto attacks following every stun. We hit Guitar Solo, and look at that health coming in addition to the Guitar Solo. We're basically doubling its healing, which basically means more time on Sky Temple pads, more deep engages into enemy territory without the assistance of your support player, who probably didn't want to play support in the first place. Did I sell the level 1 talent pick enough for you? It's going to get more interesting as we go. Let's speed along. Level 4 has an interesting choice to it. Loudspeakers is just phenomenal. This makes your face melt a much larger area, meaning it is way easier to isolate single targets. It's way easier to disengage Imperius, Mal'Ganis, all the heroes that are giving you trouble if they can make their engage safely. Simple pushbacks ruin so many heroes' plans. Loudspeaker should be your auto pick. But a little word about speed metal. It is amazing. 20% movement speed to yourself and all allied heroes means more basic attacks. I love this into Kel'Thuzad so I can run around corners and avoid chains and separate from my team quickly. Hammer on at level 7. While Guitar Solo is active, your basic attacks deal 30% more damage. So with our level 1 talent, we are greatly increasing the duration of the Guitar Solo. Now we're going to make sure that each one of those basic attacks, while it's going, deals 30% more damage. And more damage means more healing, because we're getting healing for 50% of the damage dealt by auto attacks. Is there other choices at level 7? Of course. You might need Pinball Wizard because you're getting really quick picks on enemy squishies. A quick stun into a face melt on Genji is going to get work done. Echo Pedal has amazing lane clear. It's a bit rough having to climb all the way to 7 in order to get access to lane clear, but there's nothing wrong with that if it's helping your team recover from a bad draft. If face melt is your primary disengage, power slide and the chance of mosh pit is your primary engage. You're going mosh pit in this solo queue build because there's always a chance a mosh pit could win a game. 4, 13, we're all about face melting targets and breaking them up and ruining their engages. We want to ruin more engages, ruin more abilities on our enemy side, and E.T.C is the counter to so many things. Mic Check allows you to reduce that cooldown, and even with the recent patch to increase his face melt cooldown in the first place, Mic Check is still phenomenal in solo queue. But here's the icing on that cake. Aggressive Shredding at 16. E.T.C's basic attacks reduce the cooldown of a Guitar Solo by 0.75 seconds. More crits, bigger healing. We're increasing the amount of self-sustain E.T.C has, and look at that, we're already ready for another Guitar Solo. We are topping ourselves off in an extremely short amount of time on things like Battlefield of Eternity. This build does not need to hit heroes to function. There are a lot of unique choices to make at level 20 on E.T.C based on the enemy team and how the entire game is gone. Everything here is legitimate. I personally love Death Metal because you always get one good one that could win a game before the enemy gets wise to your level 20 talent pick. Sometimes Storm Shield works better, sometimes Bolt of the Storm to pursue enemies who are fleeing. Every once in a while, the only enemy CC is Tyrande, and Torbus can dodge for primary stun. So this is what our build looks like in the end. This is a much more damaging, aggressive E.T.C. I have been enjoying E.T.C so much more in solo queue since I discovered this build, but I'm also enjoying him a lot more now that I'm playing in more organized environments like Heroes Lounge and the upcoming Nexus Gaming series. If I have one big request right now for E.T.C, I would love to see Showstopper upgraded. It seems a little tame for a level 16 talent, and I'd love it if they gave us a nice Tauren skin for E.T.C. Sporting the log with the totems on his back. Yeah, we've got country E.T.C. I do find E.T.C almost acceptable and a lot less doofy in his marine skin, the StarCraft crossover. But let's get this guy a straight up Tauren running around shockwaving. He summons a ghost anyway with Death Mosh. It's basically a Tauren kit in the first place. I was Kyle Fergusson. Call me crazy, but go enjoy this build, particularly if you're nuts about auto attacks like I am. Be sure to like and subscribe here at Heroes Hearth and ring that bell, and I'll see you next week with more Learn to Play content for Heroes of the Storm.